You're listening to The Stephen Tauriello Show, building a platform of liberty for people in search of truth with a dash of hope and a life worth living. The Stephen Tauriello Show. And now, here's Stephen.
What's up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to the show. So, first off, I want to talk about, it's been a while since we talked, I feel like. First off, I want to say happy Father's Day to all the awesome dads out there. From one dad to another, happy Father's Day or happy belated Father's Day. I'm a little late on that one. I should have actually did it on my last episode when we were going into Father's Day weekend. But I guess better later than never. So happy Father's Day. I've been there's a lot of stuff happening. I've been having technical difficulties with my audio setup here. I've been dealing with a lot of stuff on the side, folks. So you're just going to have to bear with me. And I am going to get you out some content. I know it's been a few days. We got a lot to talk about and a lot to do. So I don't want to waste any more of your time. Well, I want to talk about this submersible. This is weird. I was just scrolling through the news just now, and this submersible that these tourists took, I guess there was an Ocean Gate. It's a submersible for tourists. They take them down to the Titanic. Why you would want to do that and photos would not suffice, I have no idea. But there is no way. I'm claustrophobic, so there's no way I'm getting in a metal tube with 4 or 5 other people to go a mile underneath the ocean. It's just not happening. I don't want to see the Titanic that much, folks. Maybe these people did, but listen, you got to be, I don't know. They had to know that this was dangerous, right? I mean, they had to. Going down to the Titanic, that's not that's not like riding a motorcycle down to the corner gas station. You know what I mean? Like this is some serious stuff. I didn't even know they had tourist submersibles going down to Titanic. So I got an article here by Carrie Byrne. The submersible scientist fears Ocean Gate may have suffered catastrophic implosion. Yeah, that's not good. An implosion, folks, is donezo. That's almost instantaneous at that depth. Yeah. So a career scientist in the submersible vehicle industry fears the worst, a catastrophic implosion regarding the fate of the Ocean Gate, he indicated in an interview on Monday evening. So the submersible with 5 people on board has been missing since Sunday while bringing tourists to explore the wreck of the Titanic. Man, so he says, quote, for there not to be any communications or any movement, indications are that something went critical. Steve Sumliotti, a Florida-based senior research scientist who's had 20 years of experience in submersible design and operation, told Fox News Digital. Yeah, that's, to me, if they're not talking, like if there's no communication, they're not talking, nobody's saying anything, then, what's going on there? I would imagine something catastrophic happened. The pressure down there at 4,000 meters is pretty high, about 5,800 pounds per square inch at Titanic depth. If they had any kind of leak, it would lead to an implosion, and it would happen in an instant. Very immediately, you wouldn't even know it happened. Wow. Yeah, I would imagine at that depth, 5,800 PSI, folks. That's crazy. Think about 5,800 pounds on 1 square inch. That is how much is pushing on that sub. So, man, one tiny bad weld or a little crack that nobody's seen or a lack of maintenance. We see this stuff happen with airplanes all the time. Somebody misses something, a bolt's loose, or anything. It could be anything. At that depth, there is no room for error, folks. And one tiny crack, and it's over. It could be the smallest, minute pinhole, and that pinhole at that pressure is going to implode that submersible. And like he said, it's going to be instant. I mean, so these people didn't even know what happened. I mean, they may have seen, like, a jet stream of water come in from whatever hole it was, or whatever crack, and then by the time they even realized what was happening, poof, it's donezo. Hopefully they find these people. They got 96 hours of reserve air, I guess, on the submersible. This happened Sunday, so hopefully they find them, and I bet they'll never do that again if they are indeed alive. I mean, the probability of them being alive right now is, I mean, obviously it's getting slimmer and slimmer. It's because there's just no communication. How they, how is there no sonar pings? How do you just lose track of a submersible that went under the water? Like there's not like an oxygen hose going down. It just doesn't make sense to me why something like that would be so hard to find. But I guess what I was just reading in another story, that bad weather has delayed rescue operations as of right now. So that's not good. So there's nobody even looking for these people right now. But to me, it just seems like if they were like, I doubt they're just sitting there floating, in mid ocean. They either sank to the bottom, or they would go up, or they imploded. I mean, there's only a few things that could happen. I mean, it's not like the submarine would just be sitting there bobbing in the middle of the ocean, under, in 4,000 feet of water, 10,000 feet of water. It's either going to go all the way down, or it's going to float back up. So just like this guy suspects, I think it may be catastrophic. But it's, look, we know more about space than we do our own oceans. I would probably argue it's easier to explore in space in a vacuum than it is at the depths of the ocean. And that is why we just don't know a whole lot about our ocean floor. There's certainly things that can go down to Challenger Deep. Challenger Deep is, that was the name of the first submersible that went down to the Marianas Trench, and they call that Challenger Deep, I guess. And that's deep, folks. It's like 7 miles underneath the ocean surface. That is crazy. But we do have submersibles that can go down that deep. But, I mean, first of all, I think it takes like 8 hours just to get down there. And when you're down there, you're not down there for very long, and you have to come back up. So, look, it's very hard to explore at the depths of at that deep. So I hope these people are okay. I really do. I hope nothing crazy has happened to them. So I just wanted to share that with you. I just seen that just now, so I wanted to share that, and so you guys will know what's happening with that if anybody mentions Ocean Gate. So do you guys know what narrative saturation refers to? So narrative saturation refers to a state where the audience or consumers are overwhelmed with an excessive amount of narratives or stories across various media platforms. So essentially what they're doing with the Donald Trump indictment, they're trying to saturate the narrative. They're trying to saturate their viewers with different narratives. And so that is why every time they push a narrative out, it constantly changing. So like, the January 6th went from deadly insurrection to now it was a riot. That is how they do it. They manipulate the viewers. They brainwash them and they do that by just saturating the narrative. So like right now, you could do the CNN test. Turn on CNN, and I guarantee they're talking about the Trump indictment. Turn on MSNBC, same thing. Turn on any left-wing media outlet, they're talking about Donald Trump indictment. Well, I don't know if a lot of people know this, but Joe Biden is under special investigation too with his classified documents that he had in his garage. So Donald Trump and Joe Biden, as much as people want to say they're the same thing, they're not. Joe Biden did something much, much worse because he wasn't even supposed to have classified documents outside of a skiff, folks. So why he's got classified documents just hanging in his garage next to his Corvette is bizarre. And that is why they're trying to saturate the narrative. That's why they're trying to saturate people with this narrative that Trump is bad, Trump is broke the law, Trump and all this stuff. All the narratives you hear. When it first happened, you asked people, so what did Trump get indicted for? And they said, oh, it's because he didn't turn the documents over. Okay, that was one narrative. And then it went to, it's because he didn't have them secure. And it's because how classified they are. It was how secretive they were. And then it's the amount of documents that he had, that Joe Biden. So they constantly change the narrative so that you never really know what is going on. But all they're doing is they're just pumping the airwaves full of all this negative narratives about Donald Trump. Why? It is so that they can sway the jury trial, folks. That is what they're doing. They are manipulating the public opinion, and so that hopefully, that all the people that end up on the jury are manipulated. This is how they saturate the narrative. They are just pushing narratives out there as much as possible. They did the same thing with Russia collusion. That was a lie. They did the same thing with the vaccine mandate or the vaccine. That was a lie. And the Inflation Reduction Act was going to decrease inflation. That was a lie, and so on and so forth. And so that is what narrative saturation is. So I wanted you to know what that is. I don't know if I've ever heard anybody talk about that, but it is a real thing. So something most recent, just now, Hunter Biden is going to plead guilty to 2 tax charges, and he's going to resolve the federal gun violation. So essentially, he's getting a slap on the wrist. We all know this, folks. It's a 2-tier justice system. There's rules for them, and there's rules for us. Okay, me and you. If we would have evaded $1 million in taxes, we would certainly be going to prison. I guarantee it. And if we would have lied on a federal firearms form, we'd be going to prison as well. So again, not really surprised here. Hunter Biden not getting in trouble. None of these people do, folks. None of these people in government, none of these corrupt politicians or anybody, if you are a part of the club, you are not getting in trouble. Okay, that is just how it is. We've always had that. And come 2024, you have a decision to make. You want to continue this type of system or you don't. You either want your country back or you're going to continue to hand this country over to these corrupt bureaucrats, this corrupt Washington establishment swamp. Everybody knows the government's corrupt. Everybody knows our politicians are corrupt. All of us, why people are acting like the Department of Justice is some outstanding, honorable government institution is beyond me. When I was a Democrat, we all knew the entire system was corrupt. We all knew the system was designed to keep people down, to keep the people poor and keep the elites rich. We've been saying this for decades. Why all of a sudden now the government can do no wrong is beyond me. I really don't get it. That is because of doublethink. Doublethink is you have to lie to yourself in order to continue the narrative. So if they were to come out and say right now, I'm talking about the Democrats and the leftists that want to see Donald Trump in prison, but not Hunter Biden or Joe Biden. Anybody, if they were to say now, like, yes, the government's corrupt, the Department of Justice is always corrupt, the FBI is corrupt, they've always been corrupted. If they were to say that, then they would have to admit that maybe it's being weaponized against Donald Trump. And they don't want to do that. And so for now, they're going to have to say, well, I don't think the government's corrupt at all. I think the Department of Justice is outstanding, the most honorable institution that we have in our government. And, until they start going after Joe Biden. And then that all changes. Folks, we are dealing with people with no principles. They have no principles. They have no morals. Everything to them is malleable. It can change. It can shapeshift at whatever time they need it to. And so to sit here and say the system works great, that justice is equal among everyone is just not true. Because me or you would be going to jail right now for pleading guilty to tax evasion for millions of dollars and lying on a federal firearms form. We would be in prison already. This apparently has taken 5 years to come to this conclusion. And not only that, but so tomorrow they're going to be voting. The House Oversight Committee is going to be voting on releasing the IRS whistleblower testimony. And what that's going to do is it's going to allow the American people to see what this IRS whistleblower had to say. And from what I heard from John Solomon on his show, this was just breaking just an hour ago, is on that IRS whistleblower form is going to reveal a lot more things. And it's going to look really, really bad for Joe Biden. I guess one of the things that's going to be in that IRS whistleblower is that there were other investigations that the IRS and the Department of Justice passed on, essentially extended or I would say stonewalled until it passed the statute of limitations so that he didn't have all these things going against him. So there you go. Do you think the Department of Justice would stonewall long enough so that you didn't get in trouble to pass the statute of limitations? I doubt you would be forwarded that type of treatment. But these people do. Any of these corrupt politicians, anybody, like I said, anybody in the club and their family members, they get a pass and all this stuff, folks. They do not get in trouble. When's the last time you've seen any kind of politicians or any of these corrupt bureaucrats going to jail? Never. It never happens because they are above the law. So to sit here and listen to these people say nobody's above the law, we're literally watching this government for the last 30 years, all of them above the law. They essentially do whatever it is that they want, whether that's going to an island out in the middle of nowhere where they can relive their sexual fantasies with this guy named Epstein, or whatever it is. Whatever they want to do, they can do it. And they get away with whatever they need to get away with. And it's just incredible. And so not really a big shocker here that Hunter Biden is getting off with a slap on the wrist here. It does. Hopefully we get the IRS whistleblower testimony tomorrow or whenever they're going to release that. And folks, Joe Biden's finished. Joe Biden is done. There's no way they're going to be able to get Joe Biden across the finish line again, folks. There is no freaking way. This is why they're indicting Donald Trump. They're trying to remove him from the ballot before you even have a chance to vote for him. And so therefore, the system from here on out, this corrupt Washington establishment will be able to use this tactic whenever they want to essentially pick whoever they want to run for president. That is stuff of totalitarians. That is the stuff of dictatorships and authoritarian regimes. And that is the sign of a collapsing society. And speaking of collapsing society, I actually was curious about this. I wanted to know what signs there were of a collapsing society. And so I asked ChatGPT, and some of the results are stunning, folks. So I just asked ChatGPT, what are the signs of a collapsing society? You guys want to hear them? It gave me 10. And I'm telling you, we are seeing almost every single sign in here. All right. So first one, political instability. Frequent political unrest, government corruption, or inability to address societal issues. And next, economic crisis, persistent unemployment, high inflation, excessive debt, or economic inequality. Next, social unrest, increasing crime rates, widespread protest, ethnic religious tensions, or breakdown of social cohesion. Next is deteriorating infrastructure, neglected public infrastructure, inadequate healthcare systems, or lack of basic services. Next is declining education and healthcare, inadequate access to quality education and healthcare services. Is this stuff not insane, folks? And next is loss of trust in institutions, widespread distrust of political leaders, government institutions, or media organizations. Next is rising extremism, growing radicalization, intolerance, or polarization within society. And disintegration of the rule of law, erosion of legal systems, lack of accountability, or disregard for human rights. And the last one, mass migration, large-scale displacement of people due to conflicts, economic hardships, or environmental factors. Does that not freak you out, man? When I read these, I'm like, oh my God, we're seeing like all of these right now. This stuff is crazy, man. Like, why is this party, why is this system, this corrupt government system, putting this country through this, folks? Why? Because they're scared. They know if Donald Trump gets in there, their gig is up. They've had the levers of power for decades, folks. They've been pulling the strings for decades, holding people down, lifting people up. It's a club. Okay, and they've been the leaders of the club for decades, and now they finally see somebody that's going to come along, and he's going to take their club away. And so, like I said, in 2024, you have a decision to make. You either allow this corrupt system to keep their club and keep you out of it, or you get your country back, which means back to normal stuff. All the normal stuff that we used to abide by, all the normal stuff that this country used to be founded on, the fundamental principles of this country. If you want that back, you know what to do. You either don't vote, or you got to get Donald Trump in there, or Ron DeSantis. I think either one. But I'm telling you right now, if you don't want that, then vote for Joe Biden. If you want to continue this misery, then vote for Joe Biden, because that's what you're going to get. I warned people about this in 2020. I told people exactly what they were going to get in 2020 if Joe Biden won the election. I warned everybody. I said, you're going to get insane gas prices. You're going to get insane inflation. Grocery prices are going to go up. You're going to have wars breaking out overseas. I told everybody this, but they didn't listen. They did not listen. They were too obsessed with Donald Trump. It blows my mind. They have no reason to fear Donald Trump. Donald Trump did not do anything to the people except make your quality of life better. Donald Trump is not a threat to the people. Donald Trump is a threat to the system. And so this is why you have Democrats and leftists supporting the system now. When I was a Democrat, we hated the system. And now they're big fans of the system. They want to watch the system attack their political opponents. That's what we got here, folks. That is what we got. This is why these people don't have any principles. Because if they had principles, they would say, whoa, 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 whoa. No, you're not going to do this because you guys having this kind of power, picking and choosing who's running for president. And no, the American people do that. That's a democracy. That's how we do it. No, they don't care. They say they're big defenders of democracy, but they're not, folks. They're just not. They're not defenders of democracy. They hate democracy. They're actively and knowingly destroying democracy. And so that's what kind of brings me on to this next point. There was Jen Psaki did an interview with Adam Schiff. And listen, folks, it looks extremely, it sounds Orwellian. How these people can be this disconnected from reality is beyond me. So we're going to go through this audio. It's about 7 minutes. I may cut it short because I cannot stand Adam Schiff. This guy drives me nuts. He looks like Mark Zuckerberg's dad or something. He has like no facial expressions. He looks, I just don't know. He looks like a corrupt politician, man. He is like the definition. If you were to look up the definition of a corrupt politician, Adam Schiff would be there in that picture. This guy is the worst of the worst, man. And he's running for senator of California, and he's probably going to get it. This guy is, look what he put this country through. All the lies about the Russia collusion hoax, the millions of dollars spent on a hoax, on a dossier that Hillary Clinton bought from a Russian. So go figure, folks. It was actually Hillary Clinton that colluded with Russia. You see how these people project everything? You see, it wasn't Donald Trump committing a quid pro quo with Ukraine. It was Joe Biden committing a quid pro quo with Ukraine when he fired that prosecutor that was investigating Burisma. You see how these people do it? It's like every single time they get caught doing something, they deflect it onto Donald Trump. So look, Joe Biden, classified documents in his garage. But guess who's getting indicted for classified documents? You see, man, this is what these people do. It's so freaking bizarre, man. So I want to go ahead and play this audio clip. So just bear with me. We're going to stop in between, and we're going to be talking about some stuff. So here, check this out.
Democratic Congressman Adam Schiff. He was an impeachment manager during Trump's first impeachment and served on the January 6th committee. He's also running for Senate in California. So I want to start where I ended there. It's pretty clear Trump's goal, should he become president again, is to have an attorney general pursue political prosecutions under his direction. What could that look like, and what concerns you the most about that?
Well, just take a look around, because you're watching it right now. You're watching Joe Biden weaponize his justice system, his Justice Department, against his lead rival, Donald Trump. The guy that's leading in the polls, the guy that's going to face off with him in the election, and the guy he knows is going to kick his ass in the 2024 election. So what does he do? He sends the Department of Justice, his Department of Justice, to go arrest that person. This is the stuff of banana republics. You want to know what a banana republic looks like? Take your camera out, take a video, because you're watching it right now. This is what it looks like. And unfortunately, we have a lot of people in this country that don't know because they're not familiar with history. And honestly, they just don't know a whole lot of anything. And so to them, this is just normal, I guess. I don't know. This is not normal, folks. Weaponizing a Department of Justice against your political enemies is not normal. It's the stuff of fascists. And so, again, what do? They project what they are onto their enemies. They call Donald Trump a fascist. This guy, this woman right here, has no clue. I just don't know. Do they believe their lies? Do they actually believe this stuff? And if they do, are they considered lying if they believe their lies? I don't know. But how can they be this detached from reality? How could they not see this completely two-tier justice system that we have? It is bizarre. It is bizarre, folks. I've never seen anything like this in my entire life. So let's see what Adam Schiff has to say.
Well, it's terrifying. And first, Jen, if I could say Happy Father's Day to all the fathers out there, including my own, who's 95.
Sure really
Thank you. But you're right. This is a terrifying prospect. Ever since Watergate, there has been a strong wall established.
Terrifying to who, by the way? I'm not terrified at all. I think it's great. I think the enemy of my enemies is my friend. That's how I think of it. And so why would people be worried about Donald Trump going in and getting rid of this corrupt FBI and this corrupt Department of Justice? Not getting rid of it. I personally think the FBI needs to be dissolved and dismantled and the cases spread out between other institutions. My other fellow Republicans are not on board with me on that, and that's fine. We can talk about that when the time comes, but there is not a doubt in my mind that it is corrupt. The entire system is corrupt, and why would the American people be worried that Donald Trump is going to go in and get rid of people like Adam Schiff, and get rid of people like Merrick Garland, and get rid of people like Mark Milley, and all the other corrupt, disgusting people in this government, folks? Why would the people not want that? That is what's bizarre to me. So the leftists always talk about how they hate the system. They always talk about how this system needs to burn. Well, here's your chance, folks. This system is on the 2024 ballot. It is the system against the American people. So why anybody would not want to see this corruption cleaned out from our government is bizarre. And so the leftist Democrats are essentially saying, yeah, we like the corrupt system we live in. We like the corrupt Department of Justice and the FBI being weaponized. We don't care. We like where the government keeps the middle-class people down and keeps the poor people on the dole. We like that, while the rich elite people fly around in their private jets into Davos, we like how there's a two-tier justice system and politicians and corrupt bureaucrats get away with everything and we don't. That is essentially what they're saying. Why anybody would care if Donald Trump goes in and gets rid of people like Merrick Garland and all the other corrupt bureaucrats in the system is beyond me. I think it's great and people should want that. Fill those shoes with normal American people, honest, honorable people. Folks, it doesn't matter who you are. It doesn't matter how much morals you have. If you have the kind of power that these politicians do, you will become corrupted. It's just a matter of time. That is why I'm a firm believer in term politics. 10 years. I say 10 years and you're done. You cannot even run again. But there's downsides to having term limits too. I mean, but that could be argued. But can we at least argue it from a point to where the government doesn't rule over the people like tyrants? They forced people to get vaccinated against their will, for God's sakes, using OSHA. You know what they told people? Hey, you better take this shot or you can't come to work. Like, are you serious? Hey, you better close your business down. You're not allowed to have people during lockdowns. Folks, this is what I'm talking about. This is the system you're going to want? Well, you have an option in 2024. It doesn't mean you have to vote for Donald Trump, but certainly people like Ron DeSantis, he said he's going to be going after the establishment, the corrupt bureaucrat establishment too. So he's just as good. Okay, but you got to just, this system that is in place right now, these corrupt politicians, people like Nancy Pelosi, these people that go in broke and come out millionaires, like Nancy Pelosi and her husband, insider trading with stocks. Folks, that is so disgusting, it's not even funny. We all know the stories of all the corruption that happens inside of our government bureaucracy. Why anybody would want to keep that is bizarre to me. You know it's there. You know it's always been there, and you have one chance right now to get rid of it. Why would you continue to let these people have the powers, have the levers of power? Why? It makes no sense to me. The American people are so close to getting rid of this corrupt system they knew existed all along. They are so close. You're 2 years away, folks. 2 years away, and you have your country back. You have this corrupt system that has had the levers of power, that has had their finger in your chest for decades. You are 2 years away from getting rid of this system and getting a normal system in there. None of this corrupt, and I'm sure 50 years from now, it'll have to be done again. There's just a time limit to when people become corrupted. And I'm sorry, but this government has been going on unanswered for far too long. They essentially do whatever they want, and they get away with it, whether that's going to Epstein Island or firing prosecutors for getting bribes from Ukrainian or foreign countries, like China, getting millions of dollars from foreign countries. This is the stuff that has to stop. This is unsustainable, folks. And it would be one thing if it was just a nasty, disgusting corruption swamp temple and you were benefiting. That's one thing. But for these people to be benefiting, making millions of dollars, being corrupt as hell, breaking rules, breaking laws, flying around in private jets, and you're sitting here worrying about whether you're going to fill up your gas tank or buying groceries, that's an entirely different thing. It's like, so you would be allowing this system continue on. You're essentially giving them the green light, saying, yes, we like living like this. This is great. I can't think of anything better. This is an awesome America I'm living in. Like, no, folks, no, this is awful. It doesn't have to be this way. And in 2024, you have one vote. And everybody has just one. No matter how rich you are, no matter how poor you are, no matter how advantaged you are, no matter nothing, everybody gets one. And it's the most powerful thing that the founders gave the American people, a vote. And you have an opportunity to change the entire system. And does it really matter who does it? The only thing I care about is that it gets done. Because this is not a system I want to live in, folks. It is not. This is awful. This is an awful system to live in. You have open borders where you have millions of illegal immigrants flooding into this country. You have insane inflation. You have insane gas prices, insane grocery prices. Everything is like upside down, opposite world. And it doesn't have to be this way. People chose this in 2020. Despite all the warnings that they were told. And now, from everything, every single Biden voter that I hear from says it was a big mistake and they will not be doing it again. They don't say they're voting for Donald Trump. They just say they are not voting for Joe Biden. Joe Biden, ladies and gentlemen, is finished. He is donezo. No more. Okay? And they know this. And this is why they have to remove Donald Trump from the ballot. Okay? In 2024, this is not an election of Democrats and Republicans. This is an election of the system versus the people. That's as simple as that. So let's continue on with Adam Schiff here.
Between the White House and the Justice Department, where presidents don't weigh in on particular cases, they may set the general policy of the department to prioritize this or that kind of offense, but they don't use it to go after their enemies. Donald Trump did.
How are they this detached from reality? How can you sit there and expect people to be so stupid? They really do think the American people are stupid, folks. They honestly think that Joe Biden had nothing to do with this Donald Trump persecution. Nothing. Even though you can go back and you can look at where Joe Biden specifically removed the executive privileges for NARA to go after Donald Trump in the first place. Yes, Joe Biden is a part of this persecution of his political opponent. There's no getting around that. And besides, does anybody really believe what Joe Biden says anyways? This guy has been caught lying so much throughout his 50-year career. Screw the career. Look in just the last 2 years. His son he's pleading guilty to felonies. And this guy said his son did nothing wrong during his job interview, the 2020 debate. Okay, he said he had no idea about his son's business deals. And everyone's supposed to believe that? They think you're stupid, man. These people, this corrupt system, this establishment, Jen Psaki, Adam Schiff, they are nothing like you. They have nothing in common with you. These people are the elites that are trying to tell you what you should want for your government. Jen Psaki was part of the system and then went into MSNBC, starting her own, which I think is disgusting, but there's so much of it, I don't even know how to control it. Okay, you have Adam Schiff, who pushed a Russia collusion hoax, spent millions and millions of your tax dollars lying and manipulating you into believing this Russia collusion hoax when it was Hillary Clinton that bought the dossier from a Russian. It's like these people think you're so stupid, and I don't know, they get elected. It is infuriating. It is crazy to me that the American people like being treated like this, that the American people like living like this. It is bizarre to me. And I'm telling you folks, you have a decision in 2024.
Try to do that when he became president. In fact, I've introduced a bill, the Protecting Our Democracy Act, designed to strengthen the independence of the Justice Department.
Oh, kind of like how the Inflation Reduction Act reduced inflation? Yeah, okay.
But now it's blatant. Now they're saying essentially what had been a fringe theory among some arch conservatives is their central theme, which is they want to use the Justice Department to go after their enemies. And this is, if they were successful, the most dramatic step they could take.
No, I don't want to use the Department of Justice to go after my enemies. I want to use the Constitution to rid our government of corruption. The founders gave us a contract, folks. They gave us a Constitution. They gave us ways of getting our country back, folks. Okay, we don't need the Department of Justice to clean up corruption within our government. Okay, the corruption is in the Department of Justice. So why would we use the Department of Justice to clean out the Department of Justice? No, I'm telling you, if Donald Trump or Ron DeSantis does this right, and they win the House, and they win the Senate, the system is over, folks. Their gig is up, and you get your country back. I have no idea why people would fear Donald Trump when Donald Trump was already president and gave you the best years this country has seen in decades. You should not be afraid of that, okay? The people have nothing to fear of Donald Trump. It's the system that fears Donald Trump, and they're doing everything they can to keep this guy from getting elected. And that includes wiping their ass with the Constitution if they had to, violating standards, violating amendments, violating the Constitution. Whatever it is, they will do it, folks. You are talking about a system that has been embedded into our government for decades, where these people do anything they want and nobody is held accountable. Except for us. And we have to pay the price for all this stuff. So this guy talking about how he's going to use the Department of Justice to go against his enemies. The enemy of my enemies is my friend. Donald Trump, at the very least, he may be a flawed man. You may not like him. You may not like his orange. You may not like the orange man. But if the orange man delivers you a better quality of life and a better country, then who cares? Really? Who cares what the guy looks like? I'm not trying to date the dude. I'm not trying to be his grandson. I just want him to give me my country back. I want to be able to have real Americans win elections and replace people like Adam Schiff. Unless it is Adam Schiff. If California wants Adam Schiff, go ahead. But I'm telling you, folks, deep down inside, because I used to be a Democrat. Lefties, listen, I used to be where you were at. It's just Donald Trump does not bother me like he bothers you. It doesn't bother me. He doesn't get under my skin like that. I do not hate him enough to where I would allow this system to completely run roughshod over the American people just to get rid of them. There's no way. There is no way. As long as Donald Trump improves my quality of life and he protects my wallet, protects my family, and makes my life easier and makes this country better, then who cares? That's like having somebody clean up a beach and everyone thinks it's great. He's cleaning all the plastics out of the water, cleaning up the beach. And then when you go up and ask him and he says, I'm a Republican, you hate him. You hate him. It's like you completely disregard that he just made this beach beautiful. It's like, does it really matter who's doing it just so long as it gets done? Like, that is what's bizarre to me. It's like people allow this hatred for Donald Trump to blind them from what they know in their hearts and in their souls to be the truth. Double think. They have to sit there and say that this system is working, that this system is not corrupt, that this system has the people's best interests at heart, just so that they can continue to hate Donald Trump, just so they can use the system to go against Donald Trump. Because if they admit that the system is wrong, they admit that the system is corrupt, then that means they would have to admit that maybe the system is targeting Donald Trump because Donald Trump wants to take them out of the system, because Donald Trump wants to destroy the system, to destroy this corrupt, bureaucratic swamp temple and all the swamp creatures that reside in it. This is what's bizarre to me. And you know Joe Biden's going to lose. He's going to lose, folks. I'm telling you, this guy is finished. All they have to do is just show one video of this guy falling down, and it's over. It is freaking over. But that is unless the system removes Donald Trump from the ballot. And I'm sorry, I just don't think that's going to happen. And the American people should not allow that to happen. Okay, bureaucrats do not pick our president, folks. The people do. For being these great defenders of democracy, you're watching a corrupt government system, this corrupt establishment, Washington swamp creatures, destroy our democracy just to keep Donald Trump from winning. What does that tell you? I'm sorry, but if they are willing to burn it all down just to go after Donald Trump, then that means he's a really big threat to their game, dude. He's a really big threat to their system. And I'm sorry, but I want to see him get in and clean that system out. It's time the American people get their country back, folks, where we're just normal. You know, where we can disagree we can agree to disagree and move on with our lives because we all know that our lives are better. We can work on things like abortion. We can work on things like gun control, but we're not doing anything. We're not doing nothing. Look at gun control. Nobody can agree on anything because one side is so extreme that the other side don't trust it to do anything. So neither side comes to the table. All this is not normal. The system we're experiencing right now is unsustainable, folks. It's unsustainable. All right, let's see what else this doucher has to say.
Take towards converting our democracy into some kind of authoritarian government, because that's what dictatorships do.
It's so bizarre to me, man. Does this guy not see how they are actually the ones acting authoritarian? Do they not remember they just tried unseating a duly elected president for 4 years with impeachments and bogus investigations? And somehow Donald Trump's the authoritarian when he was in there for 4 years? And nobody's seen any kind of authoritarianism, folks. Did he mandate vaccines on people? Did he issue eviction moratoriums on people's private property? I don't think so. Is he using the EPA to target energy companies and coal-fired power plants?
Exactly. I mean, and if there is an enemies list, you're probably on it. I'm sure you've thought about this. What could a Trump DOJ do to make your life difficult?
Psaki asked the same question to James Comey. I don't know how she got her own show. She's awful. Why anybody would trust this woman is beyond me. Why anybody would listen to the media at all is beyond me. They got everything wrong, folks, from the lockdowns all the way to vaccines, all the way to the Russian collusion hoax, all the way to everything. They get everything wrong. Why do people continue to listen to these frauds? They have nothing in common with you. They live in high-rise $2-3 million condominiums on the beach, okay? They look down on you. And in some cases, they probably hate you. They disgust you. They have nothing in common with you. But yet they want to keep this system that they've been a part of for decades because it makes them money, because it improves their lives, and completely disregarding your life. So why anybody would want to continue this system is bizarre.
Well, just the other day, Trump said I should be imprisoned. And, of course, it's not the first time he's called for jailing me.
He should.
And, you have to wonder, could a President Trump, unshackled by any opposition, somehow use the Justice Department to imprison his enemies? Mm-hmm. There are a lot of things that we have.
Ask Joe Biden. He's doing it right now. He's using the Justice Department to imprison his enemies. I mean, how many times do we have to go through this? How many instances do we have to see in order for people to realize that that is exactly what Joe Biden's doing? Joe Biden cannot separate himself from this, folks. He is deliberately persecuting his chief political rival for the 2024 election. This is election interference at its purest form. Okay, and I'm sorry if people can't see that, but you really got to take off the blinders here and notice that that's exactly what's happening. I don't know if I'm going to be able to listen to all of Adam Schiff, man.
Seen take place in this country in the last several years that we never would have imagined possible. We thought we were...
Because of you. All these crazy-ass things happened because of them. This is what they could have did, folks. In 2016, Donald Trump won the election. Guess what they could have did? Nothing. Nothing. They didn't have to bring these stupid investigations. They didn't have to bring this stupid Russia collusion hoax. They didn't have to bring these stupid impeachments. They broke all the constitutional norms, folks. They did. And they want to project onto the other side as if they're the ones that are acting abnormal. Folks, we could have just went through 2016, 17, 18, 19, and 20, and everyone just would have enjoyed their life because the country was doing better than it was in decades. So why these people can sit there and say that Donald Trump broke all constitutional norms and the Republicans are doing all this abnormal stuff when it was Democrats that have brought us here to this situation right now? We would not be here right now if the Democrats just would have accepted the 2016 election. If they did not try and perform a soft coup on a sitting president by spying on his campaign, spying on his administration, and it hasn't stopped, folks, for 8 years. And they want to sit there and accuse the other side of breaking constitutional norms, of bringing all this craziness onto this country. Everybody knows who's bringing the craziness to Crazy Town, folks. It's the Democratic Party. It's these insane, Trump-deranged leftists. All they had to do was just sit back and enjoy the cheap gas, enjoy the cheap groceries, enjoy the quality of life. Okay, but this is not normal what we're dealing with. The Biden administration, the America Joe Biden gave us, the America Democrats want for us. This is unsustainable, folks. This is not normal America. It is not. I know it may seem like it is because we've been dealing with it for so long, but it is not normal. Okay, and I'm telling you, if you give this government and this corrupt system like Adam Schiff and Jen Psaki the green light that essentially okays everything they've done in the last 8 years, then you're essentially handing over your country to this corrupt Washington swamp temple. And then your life will continue to decline. This country will continue to decline and will continue to decline. Your quality of life will go down. It will get worse and worse and worse. Why, folks? Because these people do not care. All they care is about them and their corrupt little club. We are almost 100% now spending all of our money on corruption. Folks, that is a sign of a collapsing society. I am sorry to say it, but it is, man. It just is. All right, let's see what else. This is really hard listening to this guy.
We're exceptional in the sense of this was a problem other countries had. It wasn't a problem in the United States of America. But we have seen since Trump's election the steady degradation of our institutions.
By who? By you, dude. Donald Trump, all he did was just win the election. All he wanted to do was just give the American people a better country. It was the Democratic Party and Adam Schiff and Jamie Raskin and all the other insane Trump-deranged lunatics on the left that degraded this country, that essentially broke all constitutional norms with partisan impeachments. How many? 1, 2? Which one? How many? 2 impeachments? 2? They weren't good with just 1. So it wasn't bad enough to just do 1. You really had to break the constitutional norm and do 2 of them, right? And then now what? Indictments? Who is the one bringing this country in a decline? Who is the one putting this country in decline? Donald Trump, who's not even president? Or the Democrats who have been on a freaking a tirade against Donald Trump ever since, breaking every single guardrail that we have to protect people from craziness like this. They just steamrolled right through it. Impeachment? Wait, a one-side impeachment from completely partisan sides? Do it. an indictment, do it. So who are the ones putting this country in a state of decline? It's not Donald Trump, folks. Open your eyes. It's these people. They are trying to deflect everything that they do onto their opponents. And I'm sorry, but they have to know that's what they're doing. I don't know if they're lying and they believe their lies. I have no idea. But the fact that these people can say that it was Donald Trump that made this country abnormal when all the guy did was just run for president and won by the American people fairly, okay? That was a fair and square election. And then it was the Democrats and their crazy asses that brought this country into states and places we've never been before. So Donald Trump, you could have just let the guy be president, kind of like what you're just allowing Joe Biden to do. Just let the guy give the American people a good country. But they couldn't do it. They had to drive off the cliff and bring this country with them right over the cliff. And then when we're going over the cliff, they're like, oh man, I can't believe you drove us off a cliff. It's like, no, dude, these people are insane, man.
And were he given the chance again, you can't, bet against how he would try to abuse the Justice Department. But, I would also say it's a badge of honor to be on his enemies list. As Franklin Roosevelt said, there are times when you can judge a person by the enemies they make. And I think
that the truer words have never been spoken. The entire system hates Donald Trump. Well, guess what, folks? The enemy of my enemies is my friend. Okay? If the system wants to destroy Donald Trump, the same system that pokes you in the chest and tells you what you can do, the same system that brings you down and keeps you down, I want a guy that's going to bring that system down. That's what I want. So yes, I agree. I think the people that hate Donald Trump, they hate him because they fear him, because they know he's coming for their corrupt gig, dude. Their gig is up when Donald Trump wins in 2024.
They view me as a threat. They don't like the work I did on the January 6th committee or my work in leading the first impeachment trial.
Because it's lies, dude. You freaking lie. You lied to the American people. You spent $16 million, taxpayer dollars, on a freaking hoax, man. On a fake dossier that was invented by a Russian that the Hillary campaign bought from a Russian. So it was actually Hillary Clinton colluding with Russia. Do you guys see now what they do? They accuse their opponents of what they themselves are guilty of. This is what they do. So they accused Donald Trump of colluding with Russia when it was actually Hillary Clinton that bought a dossier from Christopher Steele, a Russian.
A bipartisan vote to convict, but it's not going to deter me. I will say this, though. It is occupying the nation's time when we have to focus on things like homelessness and the high cost of housing.
But you didn't care about that during Donald Trump's hiatus, did you? That's what we were trying to say during the entire Trump administration. We were like, dude, let this guy get back to work. These guys kept going after him and tagging him and tagging him and tagging him, trying to overthrow his presidency. Folks, they tried to impeach him twice. Okay, I don't know how many investigations. They spied on his campaign. They spied on his administration. And all the American people were trying to say was like, dude, just leave him alone, man. We voted for him. Let him do his job. And they just couldn't do it. They could not do it, folks. And this guy wants to get on here and talk about how we should just be getting back to business as usual. We should be getting back to helping people. No, folks. This is why the people, this is why Trump supporters, this is why Republicans told Democrats when they first started this little jihad against Donald Trump that you better stop breaking all these constitutional norms because you're bringing this country into a direction we don't want to go. And look at what they did. Now they want to sit and cry about, oh, well, I can't believe Donald Trump would want to come after the system like this. What do you mean? The entire system, you brought the entire system on to Donald Trump when he was president, when all the American people wanted to do was just vote for their guy, let their guy get in, let the guy do this job, and let the guy leave. But no, you guys couldn't have that. You guys had to try and overthrow and perform a soft coup against a duly elected president. Then you want to sit there and say, oh, could we just get back to doing business as usual? Could we just get back to helping the country? No, folks. The Democrats and the crazy radical Trump deranged leftists brought this country to this place. And so now it's time that we finish it. These people aren't going to be able to throw a punch and not expect to get a punch thrown back. That's what this is. The leftist Democratic Party, this corrupt establishment swamp, Republicans too. I'm not saying it's no Republicans in this, but Republicans, this corrupt establishment swamp, they take little daggers and they stab Donald Trump, whenever they try and, stab him with a little stiletto stick, and then they move on and they're like, hey, I don't want no problems. I don't want no problems. And then as soon as you get back to work, they stick them again. And they're like, whoa, no trouble. Can we just get back to work here? And they just keep doing that over and over and over again. And then we're like, dude, I was sitting here telling Democrats, the entire Trump administration, why are you guys steamrolling all these constitutional norms? Why are you breaking all these constitutional norms? Why are you going through this completely partisan impeachment when you know nothing's going to happen? They knew that Donald Trump was not going to be convicted. They knew Donald Trump was not going to be removed. So why did they do it? Why did they put the country through this? The same reason why they're doing it now, folks. It is specifically to destroy Donald Trump because they fear him. Okay? There was no reason why they had to bring this indictment. None. And in fact, all the indictments are weak. Nobody can even definitively say what the indictment's for. If you're going to bring an indictment on a president, the threshold better be so freaking high. You better have, I don't know, audio tape recordings of him getting $1 million bribes from foreign countries. That would be something that you would probably indict a president for. And who did that, folks? That's Joe Biden. Okay, so you guys see what's going on. The old flipperooski. That is what they're doing. Whatever they accuse their opponents of, they themselves are guilty of doing. Just like with the documents. They accused Donald Trump. They got classified documents with Trump. Joe Biden has classified documents in his garage. They accused Donald Trump of colluding with Russia. Hillary Clinton and the Democrats are colluding with Russia. Every single thing they accuse their opponents of doing, they themselves are doing. They project. They are masters at it. They've been doing it for a long time. And I'm sorry, I can't listen to Adam Schiff anymore. I can't listen to this guy anymore, man. I can't do it. But ladies and gentlemen, after all that, I have to say, I do see the pendulum swinging. I do see change. I do. I told you that I speak with Democrats. I speak with Biden voters, and every single one of them has told me that they will not be voting for Joe Biden again. I know it's anecdotal, and it really doesn't mean anything. But folks, these were the same people that I asked in 2020. And they were excited to pull that lever for Joe Biden because they thought it was going to bring them normalcy. They thought it was going to bring everything, it was going to make everything better. They thought they were voting to put the adults back in office. Man, were they wrong. And the best thing is they know they were wrong. I cannot tell you the amount of courage it takes for somebody that voted for Joe Biden to sit there and say, man, I messed up. This guy is awful. That's it, folks. And the people I talk to aren't the only ones. This is happening all across the country. This voting for Joe Biden was a ginormous mistake. It was a mistake. Joe Biden is nothing that they promised he would be. Nothing. I knew what he was going to be, and so did a lot of the other people that knew who Joe Biden was. But all these people that got bamboozled, they got tricked into thinking Joe Biden was this great mastermind vice president. What they didn't even really know, folks. These people were never even really into politics. And so they thought a vote for Joe Biden, because you guys remember, a vote for Joe Biden is a vote for normalcy. Vote for Joe Biden to put the adults back in office. That probably sounds pretty enticing considering that the Democratic Party put this country through hell for 4 years with Donald Trump. Not Donald Trump. Donald Trump actually gave you a good quality of life. He actually made your gas cheaper, inflation lower, no wars overseas, peace happening in the Middle East. He gave you all these great things, but it was the Democrats trying to remove him from office that brought this country into turmoil, okay? And then everyone thought that Joe Biden would be this vote for normalcy, and it's just not, folks. The guy is not normal. He is sick. There's something wrong with him, and what makes it worse is he's just this empty suit for these frauds to just put under his nose and tell him to sign it, and he'll sign whatever goes under his schnoz. That is what we're dealing with right now, folks. And I'm telling you, people are starting to see Joe Biden was a ginormous mistake. And the more they go after Donald Trump, the more people can see that this system is corrupted. Because these people know the system is corrupted, because the system has abused them. The Joe Biden, the Democrats are going to have to convince the American people that the system that has abused them is the system they should continue to vote for. Folks, it's just not going to happen. Like I said, this election is the system versus the people. This is not Democrat versus Republican. It is the system versus the people. And the people don't like the system because they know that the system is corrupted. And so it is going to be impossible for them to convince millions and millions and millions of Americans, at least the majority of Americans, that this system is good and it's working and they just need to keep voting for it to keep it going. Not after this disaster, and we still got 2.5 years left. Look at all the damage that has been done in just 2.5 years, folks. Go down the list. This is awful. Joe Biden promised us unity and gave us a banana republic. I mean, this is so bad, man, that we are entering like third world country stage here. Like, this is awful. You have a politicized Department of Justice, a politicized intel agencies targeting Americans. You have a politicized White House that's weaponizing the Department of Justice against his political opponents. You have a president that is corrupted, that has corruption up to his knees. He is up to his neck in corruption, folks. This family is so corrupted, it is not even funny. When you have 20, 30 different LLCs and you got money coming from all these foreign countries going through these LLCs and going out to all the family members, folks, what did they sell? What business were they in to be getting millions of dollars from foreign countries? This is what we're asking. And these are legitimate questions. Joe Biden, what business, goods, or service did you provide to earn $10 million from these foreign countries? Why do you have 20 different LLCs where all this money is being transferred into? Like, these are normal questions that people are asking, and the media is not getting them any answers. So people have to assume that it's just because it's corruption. And I'm sorry, but this Democratic Party, this system is going to have a hard time convincing the American people that everything's all hunky-dory. As long as you just keep voting for them, things will get better. I am sorry, folks. It is not going to happen. Joe Biden will lose the 2024 election. It's just who is going to be the Republican that gets in there, Donald Trump or Ron DeSantis? Because that's really what it's boiling down to. I don't see any other candidates getting through. It's either going to be Donald Trump or Ron DeSantis. Either one, we're good, folks. I know a lot of people got a lot to say about Ron DeSantis. I get you. I'm not all quite there on him yet either. He's my governor, too. He's an ass kicker here in Florida. Some of his donors that he's been getting, I'm not fully on board with Ron DeSantis. But trust me, folks, when the time comes, if it is Ron DeSantis, he's getting my vote. Okay? He is. And I'm sorry, but there's going to be a lot of Democrats crawling over broken glass and through fire to pull that lever for a Republican too. Because I hear it. People are going to vote Republican. Democrats are going to vote the opposite of what they're getting right now. Because this is awful. They have no record to run on. They have done nothing good. And in fact, you have climate activists saying that they're not going to vote for Joe Biden either because he didn't give them anything they wanted. So he's screwed on both ends, man. And so this is why they're targeting Donald Trump. The system knows that if Donald Trump gets in, their gig is up. And frankly, folks, it's probably the best thing that can happen to this country. This corrupt political system that has had the levers of power in our country for too long, man. Too long. And they've created their own little club and you're not invited. That has to go. This has got to go, man. It has to go. And so I start to see the pendulum swing. And so I got an audio here from Megyn Kelly, and she makes a great point here about how Democrats better be careful in this persecution of Donald Trump. Here, check this out.
I don't know if you saw it, but Jen Psaki sat down with James Comey and they were sort of playing lefty fan fiction, pretending that there's a very good chance that Donald Trump could be the first person to ever be nominated for the presidency with an ankle bracelet, or he could even be the first person who's elected from jail.
I mean, it's this crazy world that Donald Trump has dragged this country into, but he could be wearing an ankle bracelet while accepting the nomination at the Republican convention.
And could be wearing an ankle bracelet and be elected in November.
Yeah, we could have, it would be rejected if you put it in a script for a show, but you could have a president who is potentially incarcerated when he...
But see, this is the thing, folks, that everybody is starting to notice, is that the more these people talk about how shocked they are that Donald Trump's poll numbers are increasing, the more it looks like that they're weaponizing this justice system and they like it to be weaponized against Donald Trump. Because these people are just shocked that the American people could still support Donald Trump after they threw everything and the kitchen sink at this guy. And he's still getting up there in the poll numbers and he's still getting support. They used this justice system to kneecap Donald Trump. There's no other way to say it. Same thing with rigging the election. When you have 51 former intel agents come out and give Joe Biden the ability to lie to the American people during his job interview, and you have a poll that comes out that 30 or 40% of Democrats wouldn't have voted for Joe Biden if they knew that that intel letter was a lie, that is rigging an election, folks. This is the same thing. They are using and allowing and supporting the weaponization of a justice system so that they can kneecap Donald Trump in the election. And it's shocking to them how he still has support from the American people. Well, I got news for him. Every time they do this, more and more people support Donald Trump because they see it. They see right through their bullshit. They could see right through this. I'm telling you. So the more they come after Donald Trump, the worse things are going to get, folks. So you just need to be prepared. But listen to Megyn Kelly on this. She makes a great point.
He's elected president, so that would be weird and awkward. And it seems even crazy to be coming out of my mouth, but that's the situation we face. It looks like the Republicans will likely nominate someone who is under serious criminal investigation, is indicted, and who knows where that's going to lead us.
They really are. They started at 11, and I don't know how they've found a way to get up to 13, but they are just living in a fantasy land about how unelectable Trump may end up being. But as you say, when the alternative is the bloke who's falling over and the person who would inherit the presidency is someone that couldn't even get to the first round of her own Democratic primary, people don't care.
Mm-mm.
That was never Trump porn. That's what that was. They just revel. Like, how many ankle bracelets could we get on him? What kind of a prison would he be in? How would he get a mug shot? Would we get a shot where he's walked away in handcuffs? We saw it when the Alvin Bragg prosecution was announced in New York and he had to go in for his arraignment. And they're hoping there could be as many as 3 more of those coming their way. You remember what happened. They should be careful because after the Alvin Bragg indictment, Trump's numbers went through the roof. And they've stayed there. Just ask Ron DeSantis, who was getting a little close to Trump in states like Iowa and New Hampshire prior to the indictment. And then the indictment happened and Trump took off like a rocket ship and he hasn't come back down. See how it's going to go when the next prosecution is announced and the next prosecution. The public is going to feel sorry for him. They see him as the victim of a persecution. So the Democrats really better be careful here. They better be really careful because they're elevating him more than anyone else. Ron DeSantis is not really giving him a run for his money right now. So Trump could be the nominee and Biden truly might not make it. I don't say that with glee. I don't want anything bad to happen to the man. I think what is being done to him is cruel. I think it's the same thing as John Fetterman, the senator, and Dianne Feinstein in California, the senator. They're propping up this person who clearly should be exiting stage left and having a dignified retirement into a role he's no longer fit for. So it makes me upset, makes me angry, but it also makes me scared for the country. And if I were a Democrat, I'd be extra scared.
Yeah, so think about it, folks. Who's doing all the damage to this country? The Republicans who have, power in the House, which is essentially power over the purse, and the Democrats have been running roughshod since the 2020 election. Who had power before that? Donald Trump, when everything was doing good. You see, So it's like, who's doing all the damage to the country, folks? Democrats. It's the Biden administration. It's very simple. And just like this guy said on here, the Democrats surprise me every time they come out with these insane things like indictments and impeachments and investigations and spying and collusion hoaxes. It's like, dude, I thought when they first did the first impeachment, I'm like, dude, this is crazy. No, it wasn't that. It was the investigation. When they first did the Russia collusion hoax, I'm like, all right, because I used to be a Democrat. I was an Obama voter. So I'm like, all right, well, maybe there is something to this. Let's dig it. Let them dig into this. At the time, I thought, that the politicians, I was a typical Democrat. I was brainwashed. I thought these people had my best interest, and there wasn't no special club, and there wasn't no bureaucracy, and the government was just needed, and it had to be there. And, if there was corruption, then I was fine with it. But it was when they did that, I'm like, okay, let's see what happens. And then nothing happened. I'm like, okay, that was complete bullshit. And then they went into the impeachment. I'm like, okay, now this is crazy. And then they went into another impeachment. And then they went into this. Then they went into that. Then they went into indictments. It's like, man, these people just don't stop steamrolling constitutional normalities. They do not stop steamrolling constitutional norms while pointing at the other side, accusing them of causing chaos in this country and breaking constitutional norms. So everybody's starting to see it. Megyn Kelly's dead right there. They need to be careful. I mean, no, go ahead. Keep going after him. I say keep going after him. Donald Trump is going to punch through these indictments, folks. He's going to get through this. All right, because all of it's just bogus. There are bogus indictments, just like all the other ones. It just is. All the other all the other impeachments and this and that, investigations, it's all for the same purpose, is to kneecap Donald Trump, to stab him. It is the death by 1,000 cuts is what they're trying to do. And you know what? It is amazing to me that this guy has the fortitude to get back into the ring every single time. When Donald Trump first announced that he was running for president, I was reading people's tweets, I was reading people's Facebook messages when he first got indicted, and they kept saying, oh, this wouldn't have happened if Donald Trump didn't announce he's running for president. Folks, that is called using the Justice Department to weaponize against your political opponents. For him wanting to run for president? Folks, that is not how any of this stuff is supposed to work. This is extremely abnormal. The Democratic Party and this corrupt establishment has brought this country to the 7th level of hell, okay? And everybody feels it. And so come 2024, you have a choice. You either let this corrupt establishment, this corrupt government, and this corrupt bureaucracy decide for you who they want for president, or you get your country back from these corrupt politicians and this corrupt system. That is up to you come 2024. And I'm telling you, I think people are going to make their choice, and they're not going to have anything to do with what we're seeing right now, because what we're seeing right now is the stuff of third world banana republics, and people know it. People have read about it. People still are aware of what happens whenever you have a tyrannical regime rise to power. And this is exactly how they rise to power. We discussed this a week ago when I went through all the different tactics that a totalitarian regime uses to rise to power and how they don't get any pushback from the people. Well, I'm sorry, folks, but you're going to start seeing a lot more pushback, and they're just not going to be able to get away with all this corruption. So that's all I got for today's show. There was a lot of stuff. Oh, something else I wanted to point out real quick. This is another sign. This is what gives me another sign that the Democrats and people kind of, not the insane radical anti-Trump Democrats, but just the normal middle-of-the-road Democrats that refuse to vote for Joe Biden. Here, listen to this. This is Gene Simmons on Piers Morgan's show talking about Roger Waters. Here, check this out.
I'm joined by rock royalty, Gene Simmons from KISS. How are you?
How are you, young man?
Well, it's great to have you here.
Thank you.
In the UK, in London, in my studio.
In your studio.
We go back a long way.
We do.
We did Celebrity Apprentice.
What? I knew it.
2008. And just to remind anyone left in the world I haven't told,
go on.
Which one of us won?
Go on.
I did.
Yes, he did.
But only because you quit early, and if you hadn't, you'd have beaten me.
Well, that's not so. But you're very bright and good looking. No, that is the case.
You know what? You can come back anytime, Gene Simmons.
You're very kind.
I want to talk about someone else who's in town, Roger Waters, Pink Floyd. You're obviously Jewish. He's been coming out with a lot of...
Israeli.
And Israeli. And he's been coming with a lot of very anti-Israel and what people perceive to be anti-Semitic comments.
I'm not sure that's the same thing.
Right. So what's your position about Roger Waters?
Well, first of all, he's a very talented guy. He's written some of the most wonderful music along with Floyd, many, many decades. And it's obviously held up, and he's got lots of fans. There is something to be said for keeping your political and other beliefs off the stage. His choice is to use the stage as a platform to further his point of view. There is a difference between a political statement about Israel and about anti-Semitism. By the way, anti-Semitism also involves Arabs. The definition of a Semite includes the Arab world. So I think he's a well-meaning guy. I don't agree with his point of views, of course.
So do you think he's anti-Semitic, or do you think he's anti-Israel as a state?
I think he is, from my point of view, inflamed, angry about the political situation, as we all are. You want there to be peace someplace. And look, I turn our attention to this wonderful fairy tale of a country, or there are leprechauns and so on, Ireland. The North and the South. Yeah. So it's been ongoing for God knows how long, and the divisions are deep if you're either Protestant or Catholic or different. And I've visited Parliament there.
We're going to come to that actually after the break. I just want to play a little clip. This is Roger Waters today. He popped up doing some interview, and he said this.
My story is yet another story of cancel culture. Why are they trying to cancel Roger Waters? Why aren't there real journalists going, hang on a minute, this is maybe I'll call up and see what he has to say? Why aren't you? Piers Morgan, eh?
Look, I'd like to jump in just for a quick second. The best way to have a discussion or even an argument is find common ground.
Yeah.
And then get into the diversions of what you think. So what we agree with, and I'm Israeli and Jewish. My mother was in a concentration camp in Nazi Germany and so on and so forth. I'm not saying this to get your heart pumping anyway. We agree there absolutely should be an Arab state, Palestine. No question about it. It should exist side by side with Israel. No question about it. There should be free flow of information and commerce and so on. Okay, so it doesn't exist now. Let's work together to try to make it happen. So what's the problem?
If only it were that easy, Gene. But, as always, you have a lot of clarity about these things. That's why I like you.
All right, so you're probably wondering, Stephen, why did you play that audio clip? Because this is where I see the pendulum swinging, folks. Roger Waters and Gene Simmons are both big anti-Trump people, okay? However, Roger Waters is starting to complain about cancel culture, and he's starting to realize where cancel culture is coming from, okay? That's number one. I don't know if he could vote for Donald Trump, but I'm just saying, I'm using this as an anecdotal example. And Gene Simmons, not a big fan of Donald Trump either. And he also forced people to get vaccinated before going on his rock and roll cruise ship or whatever. So obviously he's kind of a Democrat, I would say. He's starting to realize, and he even said this somewhere else in the interview, and he's starting to realize that Donald Trump was Israel's best friend, and he's Jewish and Israeli. And so you're starting to see when these people like Roger Waters and Gene Simmons and anybody that has these similar kind of issues are going to realize that Donald Trump just wasn't that bad. He wasn't this bad, folks. He wasn't bad enough to be dealing with this. And so when you have Roger Waters that hates cancel culture because he's being canceled right now, he's probably looking at Donald Trump being like, man, this guy hated cancel culture and he doesn't like it. Okay, I'll pull the lever for him. And then you have Gene Simmons, who knows and realizes that Joe Biden can give a flying rip about Israel. And in fact, they're almost anti-Israel. I would borderline say anti-Semite. And he's starting to realize that Donald Trump was Israel's best friend because nobody treated Israel better than Donald Trump when he was president. Nobody. And everybody knows that, and nobody even denies it. Okay, he made Jerusalem the capital, so on and so forth. So listen, these are the types of things that people are going to start realizing. And just like my Democrat friend said, he said, you know what? We were talking about how he's not going to be voting for Joe Biden again. He said, you know what? Thank God that Joe Biden got elected, because if not, we wouldn't have seen the contrast between the two, Donald Trump and Joe Biden. So there you go, folks. You know, the jeweler shops show the diamonds on black backgrounds because it gives the diamond contrast, because it makes the diamond shinier and more clear, and so on and so forth. Okay? Joe Biden is Donald Trump's black background. Okay? Joe Biden is the black background to Donald Trump's diamond. And now people can see the contrast between the two administrations. And I'm telling you, the contrast is stark. And people see it. There's no denying that people see it. And I'm telling you, there is going to be millions of people not voting to continue with this disastrous administration for another 4 years. They know this is unsustainable. Now, will they vote for Donald Trump? I don't know. Will they vote for Ron DeSantis? I don't know. But you know what? They're not going to be voting for Joe Biden. So, look, that's votes taken away. And then someone else that's going to be taking votes away is RFK Jr., which is something else I'm going to be getting into next show. RFK Jr. is skyrocketing in the polls, folks. He's not going to get the nomination. I don't think, he's not that. I don't know, though. It's kind of crazy how this guy is steamrolling up the polls like this, but he just isn't going to have the support. They cheated Bernie Sanders out of the nomination not once, but twice. The system is not going to allow RFK Jr. to beat Joe Biden in the nomination. I mean, maybe, I don't know. But that just goes to show you that that is not real democracy, folks. That is a system picking who and who isn't running for president. That is not democracy. That is not what the founders had in mind. It's the people that decide the president, not the corrupt Washington establishment. So I just wanted to share that little anecdotal tip with you with Gene Simmons and Roger Waters. Hopefully I explained it well. And RFK Jr., like I said, he's climbing in the polls, getting a lot of support from Democrats. He's a little wonky on the vaccine stuff, but he's saying some wild conservative stuff, man, as far as he's anti-establishment, big anti-establishment guy, talking about the same stuff I talked about on tonight's show. He is against the system. He sees that there's a system. Hell, he accuses the system for assassinating his father and his uncle. So, of course, he's anti-establishment. He's anti-vaccine. He said the vaccine mandates were absolutely atrocious and that the cure was worse than the disease. And so listen, folks, I don't think he's going to get the nomination, but he is sure going to give Joe Biden a run for his money. But again, the system's not going to allow this guy to win the nomination, which is not really democracy at all. That's just a system picking and choosing who runs and who doesn't run for president. So that's all I have for today, folks. I hope I kind of squeezed all this in within. This went on for a little bit longer than I thought. The audio clips were a little. I kind of talk too much about Adam Schiff. I can't stand that dude, man. So every time I hear him, and what pisses me off the most is just the opposite world we're living in. The projection. The fact that these people could say that it's Republicans and Trump supporters that are making this country abnormal, when it is these people that have steamrolled every single constitutional norm that we've ever known my entire life. Okay, they sit there and they steamroll one constitutional norm after another, kicking at the pillars of the foundation of our democracy. And they're sitting there saying, I can't believe that these Republicans have brought this country down this road. It's like, whoa, whoa, whoa. You brought this country down the road, dude. Like, we just voted for Donald Trump, and you just did everything you could to get rid of him. That's not very democratic, is it? They don't respect democracy, folks. They don't give a flying shit about any of this stuff that they say. They don't believe in any of it. They're a bunch of liars. That is all they do. They run on emotions. They cannot get votes if people don't believe their lies, period. That is just how they are. I've been saying that for years. And so that is it. I used to be a victim of their stupid lies. And now I opened my eyes and I unplugged myself from their stupid matrix. And now I see exactly what's going on. And like I've been saying this whole show, in 2024, you have a choice, folks. It's either the system or getting your country back. It's either you allow the system to take the country and continue on this path, this unsustainable path we're on, or you want to get your country back. It's all up to you in 2024. So that's all I got for today's show. Hope you guys enjoyed it. If you guys want to get a hold of me, you can get a hold of me at StephenTaurielloShow@gmail.com. Shoot me some emails. Also, if you could share the show with your friends and family, I would really appreciate it. And I would really appreciate it if you left a 5-star review on the show. Tell your friends and family to leave a review as well. And also tell them to follow the show too. That really helps. It definitely helps get the show on the charts. That's what we want. We want to climb up those charts, folks, because we beat the algorithm. That's how the show gets passed around the algorithm. The more people to hear it, the better. We just need people to wake up, folks. We just need people to see what we're saying. That is it. And if this show just sways one mind of one person to maybe say, hey, I didn't know that. Like, hey, did you know that? Again, I'm sorry to ramble on here. My other Democrat friend didn't know that Joe Biden had classified documents in his garage. How? How is that possible? It's our corrupt media, folks. They're colluding with the government and this corrupt media, so it's the government and their media apparatus are colluding with one another to put all the attention on Donald Trump. And so people don't notice that Joe Biden's under special counsel investigation too for classified documents in his garage and all throughout Delaware. Okay, Joe Biden, his crimes are going to be catching up to him very soon, folks. I promise you. I promise you his crimes will be catching up to him because he actually committed real crimes. And believe it or not, our justice system is working, folks. It may not seem so, but it is. Justice is being served right now. Because if the justice system was broken, then Donald Trump would have been in prison many, many years ago. He would have been in prison 3 or 4 years ago. So just realize that the system is working. It's hanging on by a thread, and the Democrats are kicking it in its ribs while it's down, but it's still hanging in there. And I'm telling you, Joe Biden is going to be held to his crimes soon enough because you cannot hide from this, folks. You can. There's only so much stuff you could do to cover this stuff up. And now if there's audio tapes and they get a hold of those audio tapes, it's over. If they find these audio tapes, these alleged audio tapes of Joe Biden taking a bribe from an executive Burisma company or a Burisma executive, that's bribery, folks. It is over. In fact, he'll have to be indicted right then and there, and he'll go to prison, no pass go, no collect $200. It's over. That is specifically stated in the Constitution in bribery. That is like the number one no-no that the founders put in there, specifically bribery. So anyways, that's all I got. I just wanted to let you guys know I'm going to be doing a show. Now, I'm going to be doing a show not tomorrow, but the next day. I'm going to try and release these every day, but because I didn't release it on Monday because of Juneteenth, I had some crazy stuff happening, a lot of technical difficulties, so I wanted to get this show out to you today, and then I will put one out Friday for sure, and then I'll try and make it up to you this weekend and put a show out on Saturday or maybe even Sunday. So also, I'm going to have a new intro in this podcast, so you guys let me know which intro you like, whether you like the old one or you like the new one. I'm going to be messing around with it a little bit more. I think I'm going to extend it out, maybe make it a little bit longer. I still got some work to do on it. I have somebody working on it for me, but you guys let me know which one you like better and just send that to me in an email at StephenTaurielloShow@gmail.com. And as always, I want you guys to have a good day, have a great week. God bless you and God bless America. You guys have a good day. Bye-bye.